Welcome to StandPoint. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. The 2019 general election marks the sixth cycle of election, the most expensive and perhaps the most competitive since the advent of Nigeria's Fourth Republic in 1999, with major upsets, surprise, wins and rounds of inconclusive elections that define the polls. It is generally believed that every election often comes with its own peculiarity and lessons for better performance next time. On the show today, we shall be looking at the overview of the 2019 elections ahead of the future polls, and later on the show, we'll also beam our searchlight on the political intrigues ahead of the night assembly, where the selection of principal officers has remained on the radar. Joining me in the studio to explore these issues is Anthony Killer, Professor of Strategy and Development. He's also the Executive Director of Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies. Welcome to StandPoint.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, let's look at a quick fact here. The 2019 general election revealed that there were 84 million registered voters, out of which 72 million actually collected their permanent voter card. 91 political parties participated in the exercise, and close to 120,000 polling units. And the accredited domestic observers were 120 and 36 foreign observers nation. Now, 23,000 candidates competed for 1,558 positions. When you want to look at it, what's your assessment of the whole of 2019 election?
Well, I think you're very right where you started from, by saying that this is the sixth time we're voting with 20 years of uninterrupted democracy now. It's a good thing to take stock, to say, where are we? Overall, elections are generally a test. It's a test for political parties. It's a test for politicians. It's a test for the Electoral Commission. Sadly, Nigeria is a test for security as well, because we include security.
Sadly.
Yes, sadly. We must say that. It's not a normal thing that security forces should be playing a major role in elections, but that's where we are. And it's a test for citizens as well. I am more fascinated about the INEC test because, as you rightly noticed, 2019 finishes with inconclusive elections. There were some reruns. The usual materials did not happen. On a very personal, professional note, I'm very interested in the position of INEC. I think 20 years into democratic thing, I think we need to review INEC. And I think this INEC, as it stands today, there's no other way to say it. It's not fit for purpose.
Not fit for purpose?
Yes. I think INEC is analog, and we're dealing with a digital situation. I think we need to start thinking for the INEC of the future. And, there's a profile of what the INEC of the future should look like.
Some people are of the school of thought that the behemoth called INEC,
yes,
that they're saddled with so many responsibilities at the same time, that you're talking about they're in charge of registration of political parties, they're even in charge of prosecuting electoral offenders, they're in charge of conducting election, they're in charge of printing ballot papers, and so many other things.
And too many things.
INEC needs to be unbundled.
Absolutely. But I agree with you. And I think the INEC of the future needs to apply what I have presented elsewhere as the 3 Ds. INEC needs to, A, decentralize. It needs to devolve its powers, and it needs to digitalize its process.
Can you please break that down?
The decentralization of responsibility would take away a lot of things off the table of INEC. There is no reason why we cannot outsource PVC collection to banks, because banks have shown us that they can do it.
That they have the data.
They have everything. I propose that the INEC of the future should be a place where PVC is linked to BVN. And you can deal with your bank to get your PVC, for starters. Now, people argue, what about people who have no banking? I argue, let's take banking to them. But if we cannot take banking to them, at least let's take a chunk of all the people that live in the banking world. If there's anybody who's allergic to banking but is keen on voting, then those people can go back to their local government. So that's one part of decentralization. Another thing is also to devolve the powers to other sectors. That doesn't have to be INEC, the way things are done now. Prosecution of electoral malpractices should be something done by the law. It should be no special thing. Thou shalt not steal votes. It's stealing. It doesn't matter if it's vote or rice. It's still stealing. So that should be taken care of that way. I also believe that we need to digitalize the process a lot. At the moment, what are we dealing with? Materials that are not arriving, people snatching ballot boxes. If it was digital, there would be no need to do that. Or, you know, if you did it, it would be useless if you stored votes in the cloud. At the moment, we have a situation where people vote, then you go to collation center, then you get some very annoying people reading out all the names, wasting, you know, useful hours of citizens and TV stations. I missed a lot of programs I loved, you know, while waiting for that thing. And they keep on reading a lot of them. You think they're using calculators. Very shameful to be doing that in 2019. You shouldn't do that anymore. It's not a very difficult thing. There's a way in which people vote and everybody sees the same thing, the same time, the real time. Elsewhere in the world, announcement of election result is the media, is the press that does it. It's not INEC. You know, you see big stations say, someone like TVC will say, TVC calls it for this person. Why? Because you're following it and we're all seeing it at the same time. You're tabulating it. I simplify, but I can tell you what you need to do. It's a simple Excel sheet. You put all the polling stations in Nigeria on one big electronic Excel sheet. As people are voting, you're putting it there. It's tabulated. You go to a reputable website like INEX or media houses, and you see the vote as they're going one by one, where we're going to. And you don't need that very long process anymore.
A lot of people say what was responsible for the long process is the fact that 97 political parties, 90-something political parties participated in that exercise. And in some of those states, you get to hear so-so party, 0. So-so party, 0. Yeah. So-so party, 0. At a point in time, in one of those states, they actually, I think it was Kano State, that an observer actually suggested that, why don't you spare us the pains of reading out all the political parties and let's get the two main political parties, and the rec actually said
I even
they have to go.
It's just commonsensical. I even go beyond it. Just read the first 5. Not even 2. Read the first 5. And you see,
the rest you go and check
on the internet. It later. We don't make the first 5. It's not that you're making anything. I mean, you know, good luck to you and fantastic, but others can check that. The first 5 are the major thing. And you see, I'm very, very generous. Not even the first 2. Let's give the first 5. You see, but that said, this idea that people are pushing, I find it very fascinating that the problem is that because there are too many political parties. We spend more on elections in Nigeria than the UK, than Canada, than India, that has over close to 1 billion number of voters, that have close to 1 million number of candidates. We spend more money on them, and their process is lighter and better than ours. We just have to look at it. We just need to realize.
Did you see the ballot paper?
What about the ballot paper?
The length of the ballot paper,
yeah.
And some even people that are not so literate found it very difficult to
Trust me, people who are not so literate know what they're looking for. You see, this thing is a false problem. It's not that you go there that day to say, who am I voting for? You leave home knowing who you're going to vote for. And if we think that we have a problem with
let's take, for example.
Yes.
Beyond APC and PDP.
Yes.
A seemingly obscure political party.
Yes.
Actually came third.
Yes.
Just because it was under the PDP.
Yeah.
And the candidate of that political party was in the came from the United States of America, a young man. He did not campaign, no poster, nothing. At the end of the day, he had more votes than the likes of Showore, than Kingsley Moghalu.
Well, 3 things needs to be said. That's a very Nigerian story. Number one is that the guy got the vote. I'm sure even he doesn't know himself as a candidate. Nobody knows him. He never did anything. It's just an error. It's because his logo, we've studied it. The logo looks very much like the PDP logo. So some people make that kind of mistake. But you see, but it also tells you.
Had over 100,000 votes.
Yeah, over 100,000 votes.
More than Showore that campaign all over Nigeria.
Well, I was saying that is a Nigerian, is an error. That he had those votes. It's not any kind of thing. It's an error secularly. For him, it's divine intervention. But, you know, that's his own thing. But the other thing that we need to be said is that he got 100,000 votes. You say he came third. He came a very, very distant third.
Ridiculously distant.
I have, in my past, in another year, we did an audio cassette when I was in school. My band, we recorded something and we sold it. So it's like saying that Michael Jackson came first, Anthony Killer came third in the music, in the top charts. So it's a very long third that he came. It's just a fascinating story. But it also tells us that we need to look at how these things are done. If we have very long ballot paper, one of the things that can be done is to number them. And you vote to your electorate saying that vote number 27. That's where we're going to be on the ballot paper.
Okay, quickly, the election was marked by so many upsets and surprise wins.
Yes.
Now, for instance, we saw APC winning Kano,
Yes.
and at the presidential election
Yes.
with a wide margin, while the governorship poll, it was like neck on neck, running neck on neck with the PDP. So many presumed political juggernauts, like also Senate President lost his seat.
Yes.
Bukola Saraki lost his seat.
Yes.
He lost the entire senatorial district, lost the entire House of Representative seats, and lost the entire House of Assembly seat. In fact, it was like, a revolution in Kwara State. And we also had Godwin Akpabio losing his senatorial district.
Yes. Well, I think there's some victories and some defeats that, as a political consultant, I have to look at it this way. It's not as surprising as some people are making it.
Like Bukola Saraki's
Yes.
own?
No, it's not as surprising as people are making it. Because, and this is a joy for political consultants, because some people sat down, opened a desk against Bukola Saraki, waiting on him totally, did everything that was necessary, the canvassing. I think a good paper should be written on what happened in Kwara, the Otoge movement. Because people sat down, the canvassing was done house to house. Every part of that constituency was touched. It was like having the federal might. And I say this, not the way he said politically, unifying a whole federal force against a single unit. There's no way he could stand it. He had to be so mega popular. He had to be so loved to be able to withstand that kind of thing. So there's no surprise. But then again, it's like Kano, where the big surprise. Buhari has always been popular in Kano. And so...
No, Buhari had 1.4 million votes in Kano.
You mean I should use another adjective than popular? I think popular is good enough.
All right, we'll take this breather quickly. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still StandPoint on TVC. All right, welcome back. This is StandPoint, reaching you live from television Continental. I have Professor Anthony Killer still with me, and we're dissecting the 2019 election. And a lot of people will say, moving forward, Mr. President failed to append his signature to that Electoral Act. So a lot of people are calling for like a wholesale electoral amendment. That so many things will need to be done to make sure that this INEC function maximally more than what they are doing now. And our Electoral Acts, in terms of, let's say for the polling units, my experience was rather painful. All the places I covered the election, Katsina to Kano to Ogun State, with results will come out at the polling units, and somebody will take the result sheet manually from the polling unit, take it to the ward, and they compute it. We wait for hours from the ward to the local government, from local government to the state collation center, wait for hours, and at the end of assembling the whole thing, as we said earlier.
It's analog. It's analog. You can't do that anymore these days, Life is moving at a faster pace, and people... We have to think. We talk about Electoral Act. I agree. The Electoral Act needs to be reviewed. I think a total overhaul of INEC needs to be done. The new INEC should, regardless of what it says in the book, on the website, it should be led by a man or a woman that can coordinate a team that understands that our duty is to make election free and fair without disturbing citizens and stopping politicians from rigging. They should have that thing in their mind. So how do we meet those criteria? We do not want to disturb citizens, and we do not want anybody to rig.
Disturb citizens, like,
shutting down the whole day for business. The nation cannot move because people are voting. We need to go past that. Staying all night to read results. It's ridiculous. I mean, we don't even see ourselves what we're doing. What you just described now, you vote, then they take the paper to somewhere. We don't see how ridiculous those things are because we're used to it, but we should stop, you know. People need to sit together and say, how do we do it? The INEC of the future, and I go against my colleagues, it's not a matter of one professor sitting on it. Election is a matter of logistics. You need to get project managers, supply chain people. It's a logistics issue and say, how do we do it? And then you look at it. And you do it in a way that you don't trust anybody.
Some people were saying it jokingly that some event planners will actually
they do better. No, absolutely. You need logistics people, project managers, event planners. Those are the people you need to put together to do elections. It's not, you know, some guy sitting down there because the professor. That's not the way to do it. I mean, you can get a professor of logistics before my own constituency go against me. You can get you can get good professors. You can get, if you really want professors, look for a professor of event planning, a professor of logistics, a professor of supply chain management, and then the whole thing will be fine. You see, we really need to modernize. We need to understand what the new world is. We need to value time. We need to value citizens to know that you can't inconvenience people. You need to know that if somebody wants to watch a comedy on TV or a news show, you can't, because of election, stop them from watching it.
Okay, but quickly moving on now.
Yes.
Between party supremacy and mere political ambitions, the lingering leadership tussle ahead of the Ninth Assembly seemed to bring back the memories of June 9, 2015, a date many members of the All Progressive Congress will not forget in a hurry. Senator Abubakar Bukola Saraki emerged as the president of the 8th Senate against the wish of his party, whose favorite was the same man they're rooting for now, that's Ahmed Lawal. As the 8th Assembly expires, you know, it seems APC find itself in similar territory than with ranking arrays of from Danjuma Goje to Ali Ndume, all throwing their hat into the ring, wanting to contest the #1 position. The last time I checked, the House of Representatives, more than a dozen honorable members actually within the ruling party have actually indicated their interest. What do you make of this unfolding scenario?
Let me go back from where you started from. Party supremacy or personal ambition. There's something going on in this country. I think the expression party supremacy is overrated in Nigeria.
It's overrated?
Yes, in our lexicon. You see, this party supremacy, we just say it. It comes from Russia. It's not a very democratic thing. A political party, and above all, legislature, members of House of Assembly, members of the Senate, are individuals that represent a constituency. A politician is not just, he's not a bureaucrat, he's not a clerk you employ. He's a leader, even if he's a local government, even if he's a ward. He's a leader in his own right. What you need to do is not impose party supremacy. What is done is that you negotiate, you discuss, you influence, and you convince. You start from theses and antitheses, and you get to a synthesis of the situation. And you show people why it has to be this person and that one. And you campaign, you canvass people. You know, it's not a matter of, oh, everybody's ambitious. If they're not ambitious, they won't be doing politics. They'll be writing or teaching. You know, they're all ambitious people. That word ambition, let's take it out of politician. Because as a matter of fact, a politician who is not an ambitious politician is a bad politician. You need to strive for power, because it's when you get power that you can get things done. So let's leave ambitions there now. And this is not very elegant, but let's do it. In 2015 that you were mentioning, I wrote a piece there saying the APC needs to apologize to Nigerians. Immediately that thing was going on, because the chaos was going on. You cannot do through a general elections not knowing that there will be a new house, there will be a new chambers, and there will be new leaders. It shouldn't be a surprise. There should be an idea of the people who want to do it. And the best we can get is that there should be some criteria to say, these are the kind of people our party considers. If you want to move it an inch further, maybe it should be said before the elections. To say, this is the kind of person we want. You see, the way the process is going, I'll be shocked if I'm surprised again, if something happens. Because the margin is wide, but the opposition party can still be influential. If somebody plays a smart one, and trust me, I know some people who are capable of playing a smart one there. So the APC needs to be very careful about this. But then, as citizens, now
looking at how the 8th Assembly, the Senate President Bukola Saraki and his deputy Ike Ekwuemadu from the People's Democratic Party, a lot of people from the ruling party felt that that was like a taboo. And look at the way the 8th Assembly went all through. you know, with the feud between the executive and the legislature.
Yes.
And they claim not to make a lot of progress because of the composition of that National Assembly.
I don't agree with it. On a personal note, I think the legislative arm of government has to be made of independent people. I think they have to be independent. You know, you can't, it's not an appendix of the executive. It's an independent arm of government, and the people there should be independent and seen to be independent. They should have vision, values, and vigor to pursue their vision and value. But you see, but that said, the way it is done is that there should be a shared vision in the party. There's a flaw here we're not talking about. And the fact is that our politics is not led by ideas. It's not ideas driven. You see, if it were ideas driven, before we join this party, we'll have all seen our manifesto. We'll have seen a plan to say that in the next 4 years, this is what we hope to achieve. And this is what we need to achieve it. So that when you go to the House of Assembly or to the Senate, you are in symptom with your party. It's a group thing that you're doing. You're not doing Mr. President a favor. Mr. President does not wake up and send the bill and say, should we sign it or not? It is something that we've all decided together that we know. And that said, the executive normally nominates a liaison person with the chambers, with the House of Assembly and the Senate. You have parliamentary relationship. It is the duty of those people to convince each and every one of where the executive wants to go to. It is the duty of those people to listen to the legislature and say, this is what we want to do. There's another sad note to it. While these people are campaigning, what are we hearing? Things like zoning, things like this person. It's just messy. We should be talking of merit. Somebody needs to draw the chart of what is the role of the Senate President, what is the role of the Speaker, and who is best suited to do it. Things like seniority will come in. Because but this seniority, let's be careful. It's a very useful thing, but some people might be senior, but they might not have the capacity to command their peers. So the leader of the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is somebody who conducts deliberations. He's somebody who convokes people. He should be somebody who can be seen as primus inter pares, the first among peers, that has the capacity, the gravitas, to lead peers.
Okay, on a final note, when I was going through the charts of the number of political parties that actually made into the National Assembly, I looked, the Senate, they just have white people with one senator. That's Young Progressive Party, Ifeanyi Uba in Anambra State. I looked at the House of Representatives, we had some SDP, we had some Baby Abga.
About 3 or 4 parties,
Now, what is the essence of 90-something political party when other political parties cannot win minimum seats into the...
Well, the essence of it is ambition. One is ambition. Some people want to be there. They can't get their way in the big parties, so they go and form their own party. But the other essence, I don't think it's too much. It's flavors. You know, people come out. They come out, as I said when we started, the election is a test. If they don't win, they go back home. If they can win, I mean, it is not our duty here to teach them how to get together. Ideally, a lot of those parties have no business standing alone. They should have come together, especially... Now, I go back to my St. Tuesday, the third force, which I recognize. I sort of tied myself. And I know you like to read that. And you want to rub it in. We didn't make it. I know where you're going to. You're very evil, but it's okay. The idea is that idea-led politics. People should get together and follow ideas. But if they want to come out one on their own, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Prof, I must bring you back.
Yes.
We must continue. We're still reviewing the 2019 general election. I want to thank you, Professor Anthony Killer there. And that's our package on today's edition of StandPoint. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can also watch the repeat edition later today at 7:30 p.m. and 7 a.m. tomorrow. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.